Hello, music fans. Today we're talking about my 10 favorite albums from 1976. But before we jump into the top 10, let's start off with a couple honorable mentions. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you've come to the right place. Hopefully, you enjoy the albums on this list, and maybe you discover some new ones that you haven't heard before that you want to check out. First honorable mention is going to be Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die by Jethro Tull. This is progressive rock. It's their 9th album. Has lots of folk, hard rock, and blues rock influence mixed in. It's not as progressive as some of the stuff they did before, but has a bit of that too. Lots of flute, as is typical for Jethro Tull. But I feel like this is a step down from their great works like Aqualung, Thick as a Brick, A Passion Play, Minstrel in the Gallery, and Songs from the Wood. I'd put it about on par with War Child from 1974 for me, if not a bit better. The other honorable mention that I want to mention is Crystal Ball by Styx, another progressive rock album. It's their 6th album, and they're a great American band, one of the early examples of great American prog, like the next one that I'm going to mention on the list. I don't think this Crystal Ball is as good as their 5th album, Equinox, but it's still pretty good. Alright, now we're into my actual top 10, starting with number 10, which is Left Overture by Kansas. Another progressive rock album, as most albums on this list will be. There's a few kind of just heavy metal and straightforward rock, but most of the things I'm going to talk about are prog rock. Left Overture by Kansas. It's their 4th album. Another American band, like I said, like Styx, features the big hit Carry On Wayward Son, which I love. Every song on this album is great. Number 9, we're going to Italy with Banco del Mutuo Soccorso. They've been featuring on a lot of my top 10 lists for years in the 1970s. My favorite Italian prog band, and their album Garofano Rosso. This is progressive rock, of course, the 5th album by this Italian band. This one's an instrumental soundtrack from the film with the same name. So maybe I'd like it even more if it wasn't instrumental, but it's still pretty awesome. And then coming in at number 8 is another one by the same band, Banco del Mutuo Soccorso. They released 2 this year. This one's called Come in un'ultima cena. Not sure how to say that, but I think that's how you do it. Of course, it's a progressive rock album again. It's their 6th album. Here they have vocals, so I like it just a little bit better than the instrumental album. Number 7 is Tales of Mystery and Imagination by the Alan Parsons Project. Progressive rock again. It's the debut album by this project, where Alan Parsons writes the songs with Eric Wolfson, and Alan Parsons produces the albums. But they feature a rotating cast of other guest musicians and vocalists on different songs on the album. The sound quality of Alan Parsons Project albums, just amazing. Great sound design, interesting compositions too. Kind of progressive but accessible at the same time. It's not like too out there. I think normal people who don't listen to too much progressive music could probably handle listening to the Alan Parsons Project and groove along to it. Number 6 is Wind and Wuthering by Genesis. Progressive rock again. Their 8th album, their 2nd album without Peter Gabriel and with Phil Collins on lead vocals, and it's their last album with Steve Hackett on guitar. Great album still. Some might say it's their last great album. I think they still had some good stuff after it, but I could see why people prefer the Genesis stuff that has Steve Hackett on guitar. I like a lot of that stuff best as well. Number 5 is going to be another one by Genesis, A Trick of the Tail, which I like slightly better than Wind and Wuthering, but it's pretty close. This is their 7th album, and this is the first one to feature Phil Collins as the lead vocalist following the departure of Peter Gabriel. Now, I love the Peter Gabriel era Genesis, but I personally think Phil Collins is an even better vocalist. He's a better singer. So Trick of the Tail, it might actually be my favorite Genesis album because it still has that progressive composition to it that the band made during the Gabriel era, but it has even stronger vocal performance. I love the odd time signatures in Dance on a Volcano, and Ripples is just a beautiful song, but really every song on here is great. Number 4 is Sad Wings of Destiny by Judas Priest. Now this one's not progressive rock, it's not what I've been talking about mostly. This is heavy metal. Their second album, even though I also enjoy their first album, I feel like this second album, Sad Wings of Destiny, is where they found their sound with the high-pitched belting vocals of Rob Halford over the intense metal guitar riffs. Number 3 is A Day at the Races by Queen. This is their 5th album. This is more of a straightforward rock album, not really progressive. It's kind of hard rock, but has some symphonic influences as well as some glam and some pop. Side 1 starts with Tie Your Mother Down, and side 2 starts with Somebody to Love. Most of the other tracks on the album are great as well. And number 2 is Interview by Gentle Giant. Back to my usual genre for the 70s, progressive rock. This is Gentle Giant's 8th album. Interview is a concept album that's conceived as a radio interview. It's kind of like about all the dumb questions that interviewers would ask the band. Kind of a weird concept to make into a concept album, but the music here is really, really great. I feel like Gentle Giant peaked though in their last album, Free Hand, from 1975. So they never really made anything quite as good as that afterwards. That's my favorite album of theirs, Free Hand from 1975. But Interview is still really good. It's close. It's not a big step down. It's just a little step down for me. And I feel like they kind of continue to step down after this. After 1976, they lost a little bit. They still have some good work after this, but not like the stuff before. And then my favorite album of 1976, 2112 by Rush. And they will probably pop up on a lot of the lists going forward for my favorite albums of the 1970s. This is their 4th album. This starts with the almost 21-minute epic title track. Features some great tracks on side 2 as well, like Passage of Bangkok, or Passage to Bangkok, and Something for Nothing. But really every song on here is great. This is the album where they went all in on their progressive sound. I think the label told them after Caress of Steel was kind of not a big hit for them. The label said, hey, we need something that's going to be a hit. And then Rush kind of just made what they wanted. They made their most intense progressive album yet, kind of doing the opposite of what the label was suggesting. The label would have probably wanted more like simple pop songs, but they went all out and made a 21-minute epic as the first song. But people ended up liking it, and it sold well, and it propelled them into the next level and allowed them to continue to make progressive music. And that's it for my favorite albums of 1976. Post yours down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of this list as well. And stay tuned for the next video where I talk about 1977. Hit that subscribe button if you want to know when that comes out. Until then, peace out.